Welcome to The Explainer. I'm absolutely thrilled you're tuning in today because we are unpacking what is honestly probably the most radical strategy shift we've seen in modern venture capital. We're looking closely at Y Combinator's 2026 investment landscape, and when you dig into the data, it's super clear that the ground beneath the tech world has entirely shifted. For almost 2 decades, Silicon Valley rewarded these pure software as a service models, right? But today, under Gary Tan's leadership, YC is pivoting hard. They're moving away from traditional software and aggressively steering toward physical autonomy and deep, hard tech. It's a massive structural realignment. And understanding this pivot is absolutely essential for anybody building, investing, or just following the tech space right now. For years, the ultimate startup myth was what? Two founders in a garage coding the next billion-dollar consumer app. But as this quote so perfectly captures, that era is basically over. Why? Well, because generative AI has utterly collapsed the cost of writing code. When any team of 2 or 3 engineers can spin up a fully functional SaaS product in a single weekend using AI coding agents, software alone completely loses its defensive moat. Writing code is just no longer the bottleneck. The real value is shifting to those who can act as technical architects, people orchestrating AI to solve really messy, real-world physical problems. Okay, let's dive into this because the stakes of this new landscape are insanely competitive. Just let this number sink in for a second. 0.6%. Honestly, wrap your head around that. That was the record low acceptance rate for Y Combinator's summer 2025 batch. To put that into perspective for you, it is significantly harder to get into Y Combinator right now than it is to get into Harvard. With the barrier to entry for building basic software basically dropping to zero, the volume of noise out there in the startup ecosystem has skyrocketed. To actually stand out and get funded in 2026, founders have to prove exceptional technical depth. You have to tackle problems that simply can't be replicated by a weekend hackathon with an API to you.
Act 1. The SaaS Apocalypse, the Death of the Wrapper. That brings us to a major structural shift in the market. We're witnessing the death of the traditional software wrapper and the rise of something much more profound. AI is no longer being viewed as just a neat little tool or a co-pilot. Instead, it's transitioning into the core company brain, where AI agents execute really complex workflows autonomously. Now, what's really interesting about this breakdown for the winter 2026 AI cohort is that slice for thin wrappers. It makes up only 15.2% of the pie. So that whole narrative that everything is just an AI wrapper is entirely overblown, and that slice is steadily shrinking. Instead, notice how deep tech is surging to almost 22%, and applied AI dominates at over 51%. YC is aggressively hunting for extreme technical depth. They want founders training proprietary models or applying AI to highly complex domains. They are completely done funding simple ChatGPT integrations. To really grasp this, let's contrast the old world with the new one. Traditional SaaS gave us dashboards, subscriptions, and, let's face it, pretty fragmented enterprise knowledge. The new AI-native services provide executable skills files in a unified company brain. Take a winter 2026 company called Cardinal, for example. Founded by CS grads from Harvard and MIT, Cardinal isn't just another sales dashboard. It's an AI platform for precision outbound that literally replaces the need to string together 10 different tools and hire an entire go-to-market engineering team. And the proof is right there in the traction. Cardinal hit over $80,000 in monthly recurring revenue in just a matter of months. That is the sheer power of AI-native services.
And Cardinal isn't a one-off either. This new model of building is leading to unprecedented operational maturity at the absolute earliest stages. In the winter 2026 batch alone, a record 14 startups hit $1 million in annual recurring revenue before demo day even happened. Think about that. Within a 3-month accelerator program, these lean teams leveraged AI to build products so compelling and so functional that enterprise clients immediately opened their checkbooks. YC is actively selecting for formidable founders who are validating their products in high-stakes environments at blistering speeds. Act 2. The physical turn. YC's hard tech pivot. So if software is getting commoditized and AI is automating the digital realm, where exactly do the next trillion-dollar outcomes come from? Well, the realization here is that the most defensible value left in the market lies in the physical world. Software is transitioning from being the end product itself into simply being the orchestration layer for massive physical assets. You can see this pivot so explicitly in YC's summer 2026 request for startups. This is definitely not a wish list for consumer apps. They are explicitly asking for startups building lunar manufacturing using molten regolith. Wow. They want counter-swarm drone defense. They're looking for AI for low-pesticide agriculture, space-bound inference chips, and AI to manage the incredibly complex semiconductor supply chain. These are massive sovereign infrastructure challenges where regulation, capital intensity, and deep scientific expertise are the actual barriers to entry.
Let's zero in on defense tech as a prime example here. So the crucial point is how YC defines the solution. They are heavily backing software-defined defense. Right now, the military uses million-dollar traditional missiles to shoot down $1,000 autonomous drones. That math? Completely unsustainable. So YC wants to fund the Cloudflare of defense, startups building a low-cost, sensor-fused software systems to neutralize mass drone swarms. With the U.S. Department of Defense allocating a massive $70 billion budget for drone and counter-drone systems, there is an urgent and honestly massive market for agile physical tech startups.
Let's walk through a couple more brilliant examples from their requests for startups to see how AI unlocks these real-world physical bottlenecks. Take lunar manufacturing. The bottleneck is the astronomical cost of shipping mass to space. The 2026 solution, in situ resource utilization, basically using robots and AI to 3D print structures right there on the moon. Or look at agricultural robotics. The bottleneck there is our heavy dependence on chemical pesticides. The solution isn't just some farm management app. It's deploying AI vision models on physical robots to administer real-time microtreatments to individual weeds. We're talking about potentially cutting chemical use by 90%. AI is finally leaving the screen and operating out in the dirt and up in the stars.
Act 3. The 2026 Founder Blueprint. How to get accepted.
With such a dramatic shift in what's getting funded, what does the modern founder actually look like? Well, the data from these recent batches gives us a super clear blueprint of exactly how to adapt and thrive. First, you have to understand the sheer speed of the current market. To match the blinding speed of breakthroughs in AI and deep tech, YC made a really strategic move. They went from 2 batches a year to a continuous 4-batch cycle: winter, spring, summer, and fall. This means capital and mentorship are flowing continuously. As a founder, you no longer have to wait 6 months for the next application cycle. The feedback loop is faster than it's ever been. A rejection in the winter can easily become an acceptance in the spring if you pivot and show rapid physical or technical progress.
And this brilliantly illustrates exactly who is winning in this faster cycle. Just look at that B2B focus. 84% of startups are focused on enterprise value. Consumer ops? Incredibly rare now. Geographically, 66% are headquartered right in San Francisco. Actually, despite all the talk of a remote work revolution over the past few years, the data shows a really powerful return to in-person building. When you're moving at the bleeding edge of agentic AI and physical hardware, high-bandwidth, face-to-face collaboration is just a massive competitive advantage. But perhaps the most fascinating demographic shift we're seeing is the rise of the lean, solo technical founder. 11% of the winter 2026 batch, that is 22 startups, were founded by a single person building alone. How is that even possible when the tech is getting so much harder? Well, because these solo founders are leveraging the very AI coding agents they are building. They're essentially hiring their own software as their co-founders. One highly technical founder can now do the work of an entire early-stage engineering team with minimal equity dilution. Interestingly enough, the average founder experience has dropped to just 5.8 years. YC is clearly betting on brilliant, younger technical architects who can move at lightning speed.
To support these super lean teams, YC has completely solidified their financial architecture. The standard deal is an absolute powerhouse, $500,000 total. That breaks down to $125,000 for a 7% fixed equity stake, plus a $375,000 uncapped safe with a most favored nation provision. This lets founders take substantial capital without immediately forcing a valuation. And reflecting a huge move into what we could call FinTech 3.0, global founders now have the option to receive their funding instantly in Circle's USDC stablecoin, completely bypassing all the friction of traditional cross-border banking.
So let's move to and see how this builds into an actionable checklist. Distilling all this data, a very clear 2026 acceptance playbook emerges for aspiring founders. Step 1, build proprietary deep tech, ideally unlocking a real bottleneck in the physical, regulated world. Step 2, establish a physical presence in the San Francisco hub to capitalize on the in-person momentum and the gravity of that ecosystem. And step 3, leverage AI agents relentlessly to keep your team remarkably lean, proving you have the ability to execute at an extremely high level without bloated overhead. Conclusion: sovereign moats building the next decade. As we bring this explainer to a close, the overarching theme here is pretty undeniable. The era of easy software margins, that's behind us. Y Combinator has effectively remoted the entire venture capital model. They are betting billions that the absolute most valuable companies of the 2020s and beyond will be those that build sovereign moats, companies that master the intersection of autonomous AI intelligence and massive physical resources. We're talking about AI managing energy grids, discovering uranium, defending airspace, and literally building an orbit. Which leaves us with this final critical thought to ponder today. If software is merely the orchestration layer, if code alone is no longer your defensive moat, then the real question for builders and innovators today is this: what physical bottleneck will you unlock? The tools to build the future have never been more accessible, but the problems worth solving have never been more deeply rooted in the physical world. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer, and I really hope it leaves you inspired to go explore these fascinating new frontiers.